actually a relative of mine. Many people don't know. She's my cousin, and she's been involved in network marketing for quite some time, good portion of her life. But just in the last 3 years, she found a way to break free and totally go to the top. So raise your hands if you've been involved in network marketing more than 5 years. Raise your hands. Raise your hands. All right, a lot of you. And raise your hands if you feel like, when am I going to have my breakthrough? I've been doing this for 5 years. What's going on? I see the hands are a little bit bigger, yes? Well, Sarah is a great, great example and role model. And she's earned, this last year, she earned her way into the $1 Million Hall of Fame. Her organization is exploding around the world, and she's going to share some of her secrets to success with you. So please welcome to the stage, Sarah Zolecki.
Well, guys, I am so honored to be here today, and oh my goodness, I love seeing all of you, and what an honor. I mean, the fact that Eric and Marina asked me to share a little bit about my story, it's so humbling, and I'll tell you, it's a little bit emotional because there's some stories I'm going to share today that I've never, ever, ever shared, and I do have to share a funny story. I was actually flying from Minneapolis to here, and for some crazy reason, I decided to actually read my notes in the airport of the bathroom, or the bathroom airport. And I left my notes there. So for the last 3 days, I haven't had notes, and I was panicking. And matter of fact, I even went into the hotel and went to the business center and tried to print notes, and the printer wasn't working, and it was jammed up. And I even went to concierge, and they couldn't pull the attachment, and they couldn't print it. And the evening of the first day here, I was taking a shower, and I was letting the water just run all over me. And God whispered to me, and he said, "They don't want your head. They want your heart." So guess what? I'm going to give you my heart today. You guys ready? Okay. So my story is a really simple story. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. When I was 2 years old, my biological mom actually passed away. She had a brain aneurysm, and my sister was 2 weeks old. And my dad is my hero. Oh my goodness, my dad had two little kids at the age of 27, 2 years old and 2 weeks old, and I love you, Dad, if you're watching. And he married an incredible woman and had a few other children. And I will tell you, though, over the years, I still kind of had this feeling of not good enough. Like, my mom left so early. Like, I don't really understand, why did all this happen in my life? And I really struggled with that. And as I grew up and as I was going to school, I started, going like auditioning for different things, right, in school, whether it be for dance teams or sports teams or what have you. And I was a girl that never made it, right? Any of you guys ever experienced that? I never made it. I always got the cut. I never had a chance to participate on different teams. I never had the opportunity to do it. So this whole just debilitating, limiting belief of I wasn't good enough was so real in my life. It was so real. I lived it every single day. And matter of fact, I know some of you guys had a chance to experience this, but I never got asked to homecoming. I never got asked to prom. Some of you guys, you've experienced prom. I don't even know what that was like. I wasn't the girl that got to do any of that. So my whole life was this just underlying, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. And so for a long time, guess what I did? I quit trying to do things because I was so worried about what if I didn't make it, right? And, right before I got introduced to network marketing, I was working as a nanny. And, working as a nanny, I loved it. But I will tell you what, I was living somebody else's life. I was driving somebody else's car. I was living in somebody else's house, right? And I didn't have my own life. And then all of a sudden, network marketing popped into my life, and I was like, I like this. I like this. Like, for the first time in my life, like, I could actually own it. Like, I actually could create and design my own life. And I will tell you guys, I mean, I like Eric talked about, I definitely went through the school of hard knocks. Oh my gosh. I don't know if it's because I'm so stubborn that I wasn't willing to quit. Anybody else stubborn? I was like, I'm going to figure this out if it kills me, right? And it almost did. And because I wanted this business so badly to work for me. And I remember going to actually my very first event. Oh my gosh, it cost me $800 to go to the event. It cost me $500 plane ticket. It cost me hotel. It cost me all these different things to go there. I was 21 years old. I knew nobody. I was sitting in a room of 6,000 people. I was at the very, very tippy top. I was taking notes on stuff that I didn't understand any of it. It was like Japanese to me. But I was like, you know what? One day I'm going to figure this out. And I'll tell you, I'll never forget the moment someone said something. I don't even know exactly what the defining moment was at that event, but I just started crying. I started weeping, and I was like, Sarah, what is wrong with you? But guess what I knew? I knew that my life was never, ever going to be the same because of network marketing. Now, fast forward 5 years, I went through a lot of struggles. Some of you guys heard me talk about it yesterday. It took me 5 years to recruit someone in this business. So, if some of you guys are watching and you're like, man, I just want to get one person. How many of you guys know what I'm talking about, right? These people talk about these ginormous teams and all these great things, and you're like, I just want one. Right? I just want one. But, and so it took me a while, but this is the reason why, is that I didn't have courage when it came to building my business. And what I mean by that is this: if you guys look up the definition of courage, it means, if you look up core, right, it means heart. And it has to do with, like, I wasn't willing to, like, tell my whole story wholeheartedly. I wasn't willing to create my story wholeheartedly. Like, I wasn't willing to, like, put everything in, right? Because for so long it was like, Sarah not good enough. Like, that was like my middle name. So for a long time, I was like, oh my gosh, like, the reason that my business wasn't working, it wasn't because I didn't know how to invite. It wasn't because I didn't know how to do follow-up. It wasn't because I didn't know how to talk to people. It because I wasn't willing at the time to put my whole entire heart into the business. Right? Some of you guys can relate to that. Like, I had to learn how to have the courage to be imperfect. Some of you guys need to hear that today. You need to have the courage to be imperfect. And it takes courage to do that, right? Because it's so easy for us to see what everybody else is doing and feel like we got to keep up with everybody else. And we're like, man, what's wrong with me? Right? I feel like for a long time, I should have wore a t-shirt at network marketing that said, what's wrong with me? Anybody else relate, right? I was like, what is wrong with me? But it was the courage, right, that I was missing. The courage, the wholeheartedness, the like fully stepping in and being vulnerable, right, in this business. It was such a big thing. And I learned how to do one thing: fall in love with becoming me. Fall in love with the becoming, right? I learned how to fall in love with the process. I learned how to get rid of, like, chasing the results. I just fell in love with, like, every day. Like I shared last night, every day. Like, are we getting better, right? If the answer is yes, then you know what? Then we're doing a great job. And I just think it's so important. And I will tell you too, guys, like, how many of us agree that we all kind of have our own mess, right? How many of us agree, right? Right? We all have our own mess. And for some silly reason, I felt that the mess that I had actually was disqualifying me from success. Like, that's what I actually thought. And then guess what? Guess what God actually told me? You know what he told me? He said, Sarah, you know what? It's different. He goes, you know what I'm doing with your mess? I'm, like, repurposing your mess. I'm repurposing your mess. And you know what it's becoming? It's becoming this great vision that I'm giving you. And guess what? Being here today, guess what? That's part of the vision. That's part of the vision. So understand, for those of you that have this mess, like, understand it's all getting repurposed for this incredible vision of your life. Like, isn't that freeing to hear that? Like, isn't that something that makes you just go, oh my gosh, that feels so good, right? Now, it was awesome for me because I will tell you, I actually met my incredible husband, Tony, who I know is watching, and our kids. Hi, everybody. At actually a network marketing event, right? So for those of you that are single, any single ladies in the house, there's home. Oh, yeah. Oh. Right? There's how I met him. I wasn't looking for a guy. I was just trying to figure out my mess still and going through it all. And all of a sudden this, tall drink of water walked in. I was like, who are you? Right? And what was so cool is that, we've almost been, celebrating almost 17 years of being married. But what's so cool, guys, is that, our whole story of, just evolving in this business has just been so incredible to do together. And, when we first got married, we were excited. We wanted to start having kids. We were 33 years old, and we both were 33. And we were so excited to have kids. And I'll tell you that part, that journey inside of network marketing was really hard. I mean, we tried having children for 8 years. I actually had 5 miscarriages. So any of you guys that have had miscarriages, it's rough, right? It's rough. And, my kids are total miracle babies. And, when I first had my son, it was an amazing experience, and had a couple miscarriages after that. And at the time that we found out that we were having our second, which is our daughter Ava, it was about 12 weeks into the pregnancy. And they had given me a call, and they had said, hey, do you want to find out, the sex of your baby? I said, yes. And they said, oh, you're having a girl. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, this feels amazing. And then in the next breath, they said, you know what? But we need to let you know something. We need to let you know that she's actually missing a chromosome. And so that call, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced a call where you're on a high, and then in the next breath, you're in a low. That was what happened for me. And I was like, well, what does that actually mean? And they gave me this list of all these things. And it says, basically, it means that your daughter has what we call Turner syndrome. And I said, okay, well, that's, let's get through it. What can we do? And they said, well, basically what it means is that she potentially is going to have heart defects. She's going to be infertility. She's going to be short in stature. I said, that's okay. I'm already short, right? They talked about web feet and web neck and all kinds of these things, right? And I'll never forget, the lady sat down was talking with us and going through all this information, and she said, so what do you want to do? And I said, well, what do you mean, what do I want to do? We're going to have this baby. We're going to get through this, and we're going to work through it, and this is what we're going to do. And I'll never forget those 8 months, because the one thing that Tony and I are huge believers in is we're believers in faith. And we knew that you couldn't have faith and you couldn't have doubt at the same time. You have one or the other. You guys know that? You have faith and it can't be at the same time. It's one or the other. And we chose to do the faith. And we knew that all that faith, we didn't have to have ginormous faith. We just needed to have a little bit of faith, right? What do they say? Faith of a mustard seed. You guys know how small that is? It's teeny tiny. And so for the next 8 months, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to push through. We're just going to push through, and we're just going to keep on going. We're going to keep living life, and we're not going to breathe any of that stuff into existence. We're just going to do it. And about 37 weeks in, our doctor calls us in, and he is a specialist for Turner syndrome for, over 30 years. And he sits down with us, and he says, guys, I called you in here because there's only been one other time in my entire career with being a doctor that I think your baby it's a false positive. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And he says, well, basically, when your baby's born, we're going to see if she actually has Turner syndrome. And he said, what's so unique about your case is that he goes, I haven't experienced this in 26 years. And so obviously our daughter, Ava, was born. I'll show you guys a picture of her. This is her. And she's amazing. And so she was born, and she doesn't have Turner syndrome, you guys. She's actually a case study at the University of Minnesota. But I will tell you something. We named her Ava, you know why? Because it means life. It means life. Do you know what Ava taught me? Ava taught me about how to live my life and have have reverence for life. Do you guys know what it means to have reverence for life? It means like every single day you cherish, like every single moment you cherish, right? So people ask me all the time, man, Sarah, you're so like passionate. I'm like, yeah, because you know what? Like I have urgency in my life. Every single one of us, we should have urgency in everything that we do, right? Every day, all day. And I'm just so grateful that, this lesson taught me so many incredible things, right, about the business. It taught me about having resiliency and keep pushing through, right? Even when you get, when things might, go crazy, or you might have this type of, change that happens. Right? And it's just that having that fortitude, right? That mental fortitude. And here's what I want you guys to know. Think about this, okay? And I don't want to get too spiritual on you guys, but I want you guys to hear this. Listen, if God changed my baby's DNA, what's not possible? What's not possible, right? Everything is possible. It taught me to whatever happens, right? Like I love how Marina talks about why not me? Right? Why not you? Right? The things, the dreams that you have and the things that fill you up in your life, right? Those are the things that God gave you. It doesn't mean they're going to, be there to just sit. Right? They're dreams that are supposed to come to fruition, right? We just have to let it. So I want to actually end on this, guys, is, I had an opportunity to actually travel to Cancun, Mexico. And I was actually there on a company trip. And it was amazing. We actually did a service trip. And we actually went to an orphanage. And this orphanage, oh my goodness, it was amazing. It was all girls that were there. And all the girls were little. Like I'm talking 6 to 9 to 10 years old. And they were either there because they were high risk of being a high risk of sex trafficking or had been sex trafficked. And so we walked into this amazing just community. And I remember walking in there. And I remember walking in there, and there was this little girl, and she was about 6 years old, missing a couple teeth. She was so cute. And she followed me everywhere. She was stuck to me like Velcro, right? Like my Siamese twin. And she followed me everywhere. We painted the place. We put new mattresses in there. I helped her put new sheets on her bed, right? But here's the thing. We didn't speak the same language, right? We didn't speak any language, but we were so connected. And I remember leaving that trip. And matter of fact, I wanted to adopt her. I tried, and I couldn't do adoption, but I would have snatched her up in a heartbeat. Oh my gosh. But I remember getting home, and there was weeks that went by, and I remember telling my husband, I'm like, I cannot get this girl off my mind. I can't get her off my mind. It's crazy. And I don't know why. And I kept thinking about her and thinking about her and thinking about her. And I love meanings of names. Does anybody else love meanings of names? Right? You meet someone and you're like, what does your name mean? Right? Oh my gosh, what's your name mean? So her name was actually Sadie, right? But in Spanish, they spell it Seidy, right? So I actually Googled and went on the internet, tried to find out the meaning of her name, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And so then I thought, well, gosh, what if I look up the American version of Sadie? And so I looked it up, and I don't know if you guys have ever had those moments that gets really fuzzy around you, gets really surreal, right? So you guys are nodding your head, and it's like that you're just kind of like, what is happening right now? And I remember looking down at my phone, and I remember looking down at my phone, and I remember looking down at my phone, and do you know what it said? The meaning of Sadie is the nickname for Sarah. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And you know what that showed me? Every single one of us, we are connected. We are connected, right? We're connected. Isn't that an awesome picture of us, guys? This is it is so heart touching to me. But it just reminds me that guess what? We all get discouraged. We all go through the bumps of this business. We all have people that tell us no or ridicule us, or people that actually join our team and don't go to work, or people that join our team and they do great things and then they quit the business. Like, we all go through that, right? And that's called life. And just know, like, every single speaker that you've heard of the last 3 days, right? We're just like you. We're just like you. So just understand, like, I think for me, just really understanding that we're all connected in a much bigger way. This event that has been put on, that's been so incredible, that Marina has designed and created, right? Oh my gosh, thank you, Marina. But it's designed for a bigger purpose, guys. It's not about, hey, let's go out and recruit a bunch of people. You guys know that, right? I mean, it's about, like, being part of something that's way bigger than every single one of us on here today. And I want to leave you with this, okay? Because some of you guys heard me share a GoPro when Eric had asked. He said, why did you do this business? And you know what? My answer was really simple. My answer was, I wanted to be somebody. I wanted to be somebody. So as Eric likes to do, he likes to give assignments, right? How many of somebody likes to give assignments, right? So I want to give you guys an assignment today, okay? Your assignment is be somebody that everybody, oh my gosh, I just forgot my line. I can't even believe it. Be somebody that makes everybody feel like a somebody. I love you guys.